best player in the world is back tonight for Brooklyn.
There it is.
Against Miami, which suffered a nail-biting, heartbreaking loss at Milwaukee last night, which we'll touch on in a moment with our next guest. But in the meantime, Kevin Durant said, hey, I'm not the savior. It's not only about me. It's going to take more than me. It takes all of us. If I could borrow that phrase from another league. I know. I'm sorry.
Don't do that.
I'm sorry. Scoop B from Valley Sports is here to talk all things NBA with us. Let's start with Brooklyn, man.
Let's start with what he got on. Okay, let's just start right there.
Yeah, I know. We got a sneak peek at it. You already might have set the record or set the bar for best dressed guest. You and Karin Phillips, but for a debut, definitely got for a brother from another debut. You definitely brought it. You definitely brought it. You look too good for this show.
Thank you.
Ben Simmons, not well enough yet. It may not be well enough anytime soon. May not play the rest of March. And Kyrie, we know what his situation is. Joe Harris is still out, but at least they get Kevin Durant back tonight. What's your outlook on the Nets? We all talk about their potential if everything comes together. But it feels like, Scoop, everything may, if at all, not come together until they presumably make the play-in or the playoffs. And at that point, are there a bunch of guys playing pickup, just figuring it out on the job? Is Ben Simmons really going to make his debut in the most pressure-filled situation possible, as in the playoffs?
Well, it's interesting you bring this up, number one, because when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, I actually think as constructed, they won that trade because you brought in some pieces that exponentially benefit them in this instance. One, you brought in Andre Drummond. You brought in Seth Curry. And so I think there's kind of like this Nintendo game, like, you know, you're getting your butt kicked on Duck Hunt, and you just got to hit the reset button because this is not a tale of the tape of what they were before or, you know, prior to the trade. And so I think they've added some pieces. Now, the mandate is what it is with Kyrie Irving. If you've paid attention to my work, Kyrie Irving and I have this thing. But as it relates to Kevin Durant, you mentioned him not a savior. I think he did that in the playoffs last year, and he still was a big toe short for taking them in the Eastern Conference Finals. So you look at the Nets. I am speaking your language. I'm a realist, but I also have hope that the Nets can figure this out because they do have the talent. I don't know about you, but if I'm playing pickup basketball, I think they have the roster that speaks volumes.
What'd you say? What'd you say? If you play pickup basketball, what?
Well, if I'm playing pickup basketball at the YMCA and Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving are available except in New York because Kyrie can't play, I'm picking all three.
Right.
And we're going to run the tables on them guys.
And you would take your chances, but it wouldn't work that way, presumably, in playoff basketball when you're trying to figure out how to play together, and the other team is playoff tested or playoff ready, if you will. But I'll let you finish. Shout out to the Kanye doc. I'll let you finish, but I gotta take a problem with what you just said, because Michael Holley has done this. We were just talking about this yesterday. He's been asking people who won the trade. How can you say today?
I don't have to ask that question.
But how can you still say today that the Nets won the trade when the key piece for the Nets has not played and may not play? Who knows when he's going to play, and who knows what he's going to be when he does play? The Sixers they won that trade hands down, full stop, in the short term, and we'll see about the long term.
I mean, you played against the Knicks and you played against the Timberwolves with James Harden. The Timberwolves are nothing to turn your nose up at.
That's not the point. When is Simmons playing? Scoop, give us the scoop. When are we going to see Simmons to be able to actually evaluate whether they won?
I don't know that you will see him March 10th, next Thursday, against the Nets. I think that is going to be a very interesting game. But we have seen Kyrie and we have seen Kevin Durant play together and make moves. When you look at the playoffs last year against the Milwaukee Bucks, Kyrie hurt his ankle. His issue has always been the fact that he's been injury prone. Now the issue is COVID. So he's kind of like a relief pitcher in this sense of you playing this home, days rest away, or you're not playing at home, you're playing away. I do think that the Nets did add some pieces that were missing. You have a big man and Nick Claxton that couldn't hold his own. I do like Drummond on that team. I do think that Patty Mills was one of the biggest steals of the offseason. And I'll add this. when Ben Simmons does come back, there's not the same added pressure in Brooklyn that he had in Philadelphia. People always talk about his jump shooting. His playmaking ability needs to be highlighted more. I don't know about you. I'm young, but I'm old school in this sense. We weren't talking about Magic Johnson's jumper when he played. We were talking about his playmaking ability. When I look at the Nets and I look at his ability, if he plays, what you say?
You ain't never had to worry about Magic taking shots. Magic may not have been a sharpshooter, but you ain't never had to worry about Magic Johnson, whether or not he would actually take the shot, whether or not you could play him in clutch situations.
Yeah.
But I hear where you're coming from in general. He doesn't have to fulfill the same responsibility in Brooklyn that he did in Philadelphia. I do hear where you're coming from in general.
Honestly, where I like Ben Simmons stylistically is how Miami used LeBron in year 2 when he was moving off the elbow. He was more of a scorer. He can get to the basket. He can draw fouls. The jump shooting and his mental ability is what we've always questioned. So it's still to be determined. Kevin Durant, you know what he can do. Kyrie, part-time, you know what he can do, but they have reinforcements. While I do believe that the Nets, as it stands now, won the trade, the Sixers are a higher seed in the NBA's Eastern Conference. That's a fact. I do like Joel Embiid. I do like, as well as James Harden playing alongside each other. I think that is the greatest screen and roll situation that we've seen in a very long time. I think the jury's still out, but as it stands now, as far as personnel goes, I think that move benefited Brooklyn.
All right, so it's interesting. At the beginning of the year, championship contenders in the East and West. I would think that Vegas was very excited about Brooklyn in the East in the NBA Finals and the Lakers in the West. Both of them are competing for just to get out of the play-in round. So we've already talked about Brooklyn. How about the Lakers? Do you see that happening? Do you see them climbing it or maintaining their spot in the play-in round and actually escaping from that hellish room?
So I listened to you guys' segment prior to me coming on, and you mentioned the New Orleans Pelicans. And I have a report that comes out of Bally Sports later today where I discussed how much better the Pelicans have gotten, specifically in adding C.J. McCollum in addition to their youth movement. When I look at the 9th spot, the Lakers are right behind the Clippers, who are without Kawhi and who are without Paul George. The issue with the Lakers since the beginning of the season has been health, whether it was COVID, whether it was Melo being hurt, whether it was LeBron being hurt, that AD being hurt. I had Ed Lover on my segment the other day, and he said, man, if Anthony Davis touches the car radio, he gets hurt. Injuries has been their Achilles heel. I know that Frank Vogel has talked about how he feels like if AD comes back or if they're healthy, so be it. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. If my aunt was my uncle, we'd have a different conversation. So I'd like to see the Lakers do it. But in theory, the realistic portion of it is chemistry as well as injuries have been an issue. Who is your primary ball handler? Who is your primary scorer? When the game is on the line, does Russell take it? Does LeBron take it? I looked at this construction of this team in the offseason, and I liked it. But I'm looking at Kyle Kuzma in Washington now and scratching my head. But I also think Kuzma just needed his own place to shine. Look at all those guys that were moved for Anthony Davis. Number one, they're flourishing elsewhere. Lonzo Ball is flourishing with the Bulls. Brandon Ingram is flourishing statistically with the Pelicans. When I look at this Lakers team, I'm disappointed because sometimes you jump the gun because you know that you want something spectacular. The Lakers did win that championship in the bubble. But by the same token, I also think that the teams that are higher up are that much better chemistry-wise. I don't know about talent, but chemistry-wise, you look at the Warriors, you look at the Suns. The Suns are struggling without Chris Paul, but ultimately, they're the Western Conference champs. To be the champs, you got to beat the champs, and that's kind of where we are right now. And then you look at Memphis. I'm glad that Ja Morant and company are getting their just due, but I just think that the Lakers right now, they're missing something. They're missing not just players or bodies or health. I think it comes down to coaching some also. Who is the voice? Do you trust that voice? It's an interesting dichotomy.
All right, quick question. Should LeBron James keep playing this season, rest those knees, or just go all out and see what happens, no matter what? Play those final.
I'd like to see LeBron games, still play.
Keep doing his thing.
I'd like to see him still play. I feel like you give up something when you don't. I mean, people are playing for tickets, and more than anything else, I still think that when you're looking at the 9th seed, the 8th is not that far behind. I think you should still play. They played in the play-in tournament last year.
What other? Okay, so last thing I got for you, Scoop, is tonight's a hell of a night for hoops. When you talk about Bulls at Hawks, Grizzlies at Celtics, and we've touched on a few of these teams. Heat at Nets, Warriors at Mavs, and of course the Lakers at the Clippers. But you know what? I'll narrow it down. I was going to say which one of these matchups are you most intrigued by, but actually I'll narrow it down. What was your biggest takeaway involving the team that the Nets are taking on tonight, which is the Heat? So Heat, they're leading. They got the game under control. They fall apart down the stretch. Milwaukee has that furious comeback, 21-6 run. Drew Holiday finishes off with a layup. If you're a Heat person, you look at what Jimmy Butler shot like crap. They still don't have Kyle Lowry. You know, blah blah blah. Things would have gone. A call would have gone differently down the end. They win that game. Yeah, yada yada yada. You're the Bucks, on the other hand. You showed your championship character, and you still don't have Brook Lopez. What was your biggest takeaway from a matchup that we'd all love it if we saw it once again in the Eastern Conference playoffs?
Well, I think you brought up a very good point, Micah. It's the glasses. Anybody who wears glasses on this program is smart. When I look at the Miami Heat, I think one of the biggest takeaways from that team is the acquisition of Kyle Lowry has been their beneficial token in the cryptocurrency space, using a parallel. When I look at Kyle Lowry and his leadership and his friendship with Jimmy Butler, but also the personnel that's on that team, this team surprised a lot of people by the fact that they've been consistent for so long this season, but also the fact that everybody's looking at Chicago. Everybody's looking at Milwaukee, who's still a champ. And everybody's been paying attention to Brooklyn, thinking Brooklyn was just going to run away with that. And so when I look at the Miami Heat and I look at the Brooklyn Nets, this is a rematch from a couple of weeks ago when the Nets were without Kevin Durant, when they were on that 11-game losing streak. The Miami Heat handed that to them. And so when I look at the Miami Heat, they're hungry because this is a Bucks team. Last season, they lost the playoffs too, that they handily beat them in the playoffs. These have some playoff implications in my mind still, because if the Nets weren't dealing with some of the things they were dealing with, this might be a different conversation. The Nets, as constructed roster-wise, should be there, but the Miami Heat have earned the right throughout the course of the season, as have the Chicago Bulls. So when you're looking at the East, the thing that's so exciting about the East and the West is that it's not like the days maybe a few years ago where it was Lakers and Cavs every year. Like, these are talented teams, young teams that aren't just a bunch of there's household names, but there's not guys named LeBron or Kevin Durant that are also pulling the wagon. I like it.
Hey, man, we appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, Scoop, for coming through and dressing the part. I mean, you really classed up the joint in more ways than one. With the commentary, but really with the you coordinated. You got to coordinate. I got to give credit to my stylist, Troy Atkins of Valare. His brand is right here. You got a whole stylist, though? Yeah, he's based in Philadelphia. Troy Atkins. That's big time.
Nice.
I'm sorry. That's just you know. Like, I just reach in the closet and pull out a T-shirt. You know what I'm saying?
And you wear it well. You're comfortable.
I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. You get a whole wheel of cheese. You know?
Listen, man, I don't eat cheese. But I'll take the nachos and the vegan chili.
No doubt. All right, man. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.